Most men over 60 are training the wrong number of days per week.
Not too few, too many. And the proof came from a 16-week study, where two groups of men followed the exact same exercises, the exact same diet, the exact same sleep schedule, with one single difference.
The group that made that one change built 47% more muscle. Not 10% more, 47%.
I'm going to show you exactly what that change was, why your biology after 60 demands it, and the precise weekly schedule the top 5% of men in their 60s, 70s, and 80s use to keep building muscle while everyone else wonders why they have stopped.
But first, drop a comment right now telling me where in the world you are watching from. I read every single one, and it genuinely helps me build better content for this community every week.
Now let's get into it. Every point builds on the last, so stay with me.
Point number 1, the frequency trap. More gym days is quietly destroying your results. Picture this man.
He is disciplined. He is consistent. He trains 6 days a week, eats well, sleeps reasonably. And after 2 years of genuine effort, his body has barely changed. So he does what every committed man does. He adds more volume, more sessions, more suffering. And the results stay completely flat.
Here is what nobody ever told him, and what would immediately change everything.
The problem was never his effort. It was his frequency working silently against his own biology.
After 60, your body's ability to handle training stress operates on a much narrower margin than it did at 35. Your primary stress hormone, cortisol, rises with every training session. And a study from the Journal of Gerontology found that cortisol clearance after intense exercise is 35% slower in men over 60 than in men in their 30s. When you train too often, cortisol never fully clears between sessions. It accumulates.
And chronically elevated cortisol does not just slow muscle growth. It actively eats the muscle you work so hard to build. The man training 6 hard days a week is not building more muscle than the man training 4 strategic days. He is suppressing testosterone, flooding himself with cortisol, and systematically destroying the hormonal environment that muscle growth requires. More is not better after 60. Smarter is better. And the next point reveals the exact biological clock that should be governing your entire training schedule. One that most men over 60 have never been shown.
Point number 2, the 48-hour window. The construction site your body runs on. Think of your muscles as a construction site.
A heavy training session is the demolition phase. Controlled breakdown of muscle fiber that signals your body to rebuild it stronger than before. Muscle protein synthesis is the construction phase. Your body laying down new protein and fortifying that fiber.
Here is what most men over 60 have never been told. That construction phase has a specific duration. Train the same muscle group again before it finishes, and it is like sending the demolition crew back in before the builders are done.
You end up with permanent rubble, not a stronger building. Research from the American Journal of Physiology found that muscle protein synthesis in men over 60 stays elevated for 48 to 72 hours after a resistance training session, actually longer than the 24 to 36 hours seen in younger men. That is good news. You have more time to rebuild, but only if you respect the window. Train the same muscle group before 48 hours have passed, and you interrupt the process mid-build. The adaptation never fully consolidates. The muscle never reaches the density and strength it was in the process of achieving. The science is clear.
Once per week per muscle group means the window opens and closes without being fully used.
Consecutive days means construction gets interrupted before completion.
Twice per week with at least 72 hours between sessions is the sweet spot. But here is where most men make a critical mistake that completely undermines this principle. And it involves a distinction most coaches never bother to explain clearly. Point number 3, the distinction that changes everything. Muscle group frequency versus total training days.
This single misunderstanding sends more disciplined men over 60 in the completely wrong direction than almost anything else in fitness. Training frequency for muscle growth refers to how often each individual muscle group is trained per week, not how many days you go to the gym. These are two entirely different variables.
Here's the difference in real life.
A man training his full body on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday hits each muscle group 3 times per week with 48 hours between sessions. A man training chest on Monday, legs on Tuesday, and shoulders on Wednesday hits each muscle group roughly once every 5 to 6 days.
Same gym days, completely different results.
A meta-analysis published in Sports Medicine, covering 25 studies on men over 55, found conclusively that training each muscle group twice per week produced significantly greater muscle growth than once per week training, regardless of total weekly volume. The researchers specifically noted this effect was more pronounced in older men. The aging muscle needs more frequent activation signals to maintain the momentum that younger muscles hold more naturally.
The solution is simple.
Upper and lower split, 4 days per week. Monday and Thursday for upper body. Tuesday and Friday for lower body. Wednesday and the weekend for active recovery, walking, mobility work, and light stretching. Every major muscle group gets 2 training stimuli per week. Every session is separated by at least 72 hours. Simple, sustainable, and scientifically validated. But there is still one invisible variable most men completely ignore, and it is operating inside your body every single day, whether you account for it or not. Point number 4. The hormonal variable. The testosterone to cortisol ratio governing your training days. Every resistance training session triggers 2 simultaneous hormonal responses. An anabolic response, acute spikes in testosterone and growth hormone that promote repair and growth.
And a catabolic response, cortisol rising to manage the stress of training.
In a well-recovered man, the anabolic side wins. Cortisol resolves within 24 to 36 hours. Muscle builds. The body adapts.
In a man training too frequently without adequate recovery, the picture looks completely different.
A study in hormones and behavior tracked testosterone and cortisol levels in men over 60 across 3 training frequency protocols for 8 weeks.
Men training 4 days per week with proper recovery maintained the highest testosterone to cortisol ratio throughout. The hormonal profile most conducive to muscle growth.
Men training 6 days per week showed progressively declining testosterone to cortisol ratios by week 4, entering a hormonal state that was actively catabolic despite the higher training volume. More sessions, less muscle, more damage.
Here is exactly what your 4 days should look like.
On your upper body days, Monday and Thursday, you will perform bench press or dumbbell press, bent over rows or seated cable rows, overhead press, and face pulls. 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions at a weight where the last 2 reps are genuinely challenging. On your lower body days, Tuesday and Friday, you will perform barbell squat or goblet squat, Romanian deadlift, Bulgarian split squat, and standing calf raises. Same sets and rep parameters. This structure keeps your testosterone to cortisol ratio in the anabolic zone, and that hormonal environment is where all meaningful muscle growth after 60 actually lives. Before the bonus point, drop a comment right now telling me where you are watching from and what training frequency you have been using. I read every comment, and your answer helps me create better content for this community every single week. Bonus point, the frequency sweet spot. The exact weekly schedule science recommends and what the elite 5% do differently. Everything in this video has been building toward one answer. 4 training days per week. Upper-lower split. Each muscle group trained twice with a minimum of 72 hours between sessions. Active recovery on non-training days. 1 complete rest day per week. That is the structure. But the elite 5% do not just follow the structure. They periodize it. Every 4 to 6 weeks, they reduce training volume by 40% for 1 strategic deload week. This lets the nervous system fully recover and the hormonal environment completely reset. Every 12 weeks, they shift their rep ranges to give muscle tissue a fresh stimulus.
Weeks 1 through 12, heavy compound work in the 4 to 8 repetition range, emphasizing mechanical tension and myofibrillar hypertrophy. Weeks 13 through 24, primary compound work in the 8 to 12 repetition range with shorter rest periods emphasizing metabolic stress.
Then they cycle back, now stronger than before, able to load heavier in the next tension block.
This continuous cycling is what separates the men who keep progressing from the men who plateau within 6 months and never understand why. A 2023 systematic review in the British Journal of Sports Medicine analyzed men over 60 who maintained powerful muscular physiques well into their 70s and 80s. The single most consistent variable was not their specific exercises. It was not their exact nutrition. It was not their supplementation.
It was training frequency. Hitting each muscle group twice per week, week after week, month after month, year after year, without abandoning it when life got hard. The men still building muscle at 72 and still commanding presence at 80 are not genetic outliers. They are the men who found the frequency sweet spot and never left it.
The biology is not mysterious.
The schedule is not complicated.
The only thing standing between where you are today and those results is the decision to apply what you just learned.
Your muscles are waiting for the right signal at the right frequency. Start sending it today.
If this video sharpened the way you think about training after 60, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells me to keep making content exactly like this. Share this with one man whose results deserve better. You might genuinely change the direction of his health.
And subscribe to and ring that notification bell, because every single week we go deeper into the science and strategy that transforms how men over 60 train and live. Your next video is already waiting on screen. Go take what is yours. Age bold, train hard, live strong.